Okay. Okay. For some reason, I don't know. This app is kind of weird. Whatever. So I'm going back to the backdrop again. I don't know what people are gonna not like this backdrop, but that's what I'm using right now. Anyway, another idea that I want to explore is kind of reverse engineer this story. So basically, like, to be as critical of my own self as possible, and almost in an exaggerated form where what the fuck is going on? Oh, bitch. Oh man, I've lost. What the fuck? Anyway, so like, and so maybe I wanted to, as an experiment, try and do that here. So basically, looking at this critically as I possibly can. So okay, so when it all first started, it wasn't that she was it wasn't all based off of her being a witch and like trying to put a curse on me. It was just that she that she didn't want to be with me anymore, and that her. So if that's what it was, honestly, like, to be as honest as possible, she's just very poor with interpersonal relations with others. Like, she just sucks really bad at it. Like, she's basically socially retarded. And so that would be the only other conclusion as to how and why this happened, is that she's just basically like so socially retarded that her social retardation could potentially kill someone. And so if I want to deconstruct this story and do like reverse engineering, where I question every single thing, every single observation I've made, well, that would be the only logical conclusion, would be that she's like socially, like, completely, she's just basically just a retard. And then I would have to go into, well, then why did I even get mixed in with her? Like I was, like, it was my fault. Like what was I even thinking, right? That this was all my fault, like that I just got involved with this socially retarded person because my discernment is that bad. It's that poor, My discernment is so bad that I just got mixed in with this completely socially retarded person. And this is definitely like a possibility. This is definitely, it could be like all this is my fault, that I'm just stupid for having even gotten involved with her in the first place. And, so this is what I mean by reverse engineering my own story, is really being critical of every single aspect of it. So it's really, and that her getting mixed in with witchcraft and all this is just because she's just so socially retarded. She's so completely retarded that she would just blindly and willingly just start hanging out with black witches, evil witches, and Satanism. She's just that fucking socially retarded. As opposed to her doing this with intent. That it's absent of all intent. There is no intent to any of it. It's just she's like so dumb that she's being manipulated by this group of people, that they're jealous. Like the fat, ugly woman Sheila and these fat, ugly women that are self-proclaimed witches, they're just jealous of her because they would never have a chance at being with someone like me, because they're just fat and ugly and stupid. And so they preyed on her naivety and you know, throughout the course of a year, were able to manipulate her and turn her against me for no reason, you know. And she's that socially retarded and stupid that she fell for it. And her involvement, where that's how she became a witch, is because of pure pressure from her stupid friends, like you know, encouraging her to be a witch, you know. That's how she got involved in all of it, and she's just that completely socially retarded. And that is possible. The interesting thing about that, though, is if you start looking into doing research on, there's two basic types of narcissists. There's the grandiose narcissist, who is really outspoken and loud and boisterous and stuff, and then you've got the other type of narcissist is the what do you call it? The vulnerable narcissist. And the vulnerable narcissist is not loud and outspoken and boisterous. They're the opposite of that. They're like very quiet and everything. And when you start looking into these two basic, you know, types of narcissists, there's the grandiose, and then there's the vulnerable. The vulnerable narcissist is the one that pretends that they're naive and pretends that they're easily manipulated. That's how they manipulate others, is by playing this role that they're easily manipulated, they're gullible and stuff like this. And so the problem with that is, in deconstructing that aspect of it, is that she checks all the boxes for a vulnerable narcissist. Like everything that she does, and her every aspect of her demeanor and everything is the exact description of a that's what vulnerable narcissists do. And when you look into all this narcissism stuff, vulnerable narcissists are more dangerous than grandiose, which you would think otherwise. You would think it's the loud, boisterous, you know, outspoken narcissist that's the more dangerous one, when in reality it's the quiet one. It's the quiet, meek, soft-spoken, keep to themselves, don't, you know, those are actually the most dangerous. And that all makes sense too when I look at what happened to me with this girl, because she's so quiet and all this stuff. You would never even imagine that this chick would be doing and all the things that she's into, and did all the things that she did, like, is totally out of character for her. But to you know, to play devil's advocate with myself, and to really like look at this from another perspective, where it's like, this girl's just super fucking retarded, and you know, it's really hard to do, because also, how was she able to get away with all this? How was she able to orchestrate all of this and pull it off? And how is it just everything, the timing of everything was just coincidentally perfect timing in the you know, the sequence of events? It all just played to her favor, like coincidentally, you know. And that it was all just dumb luck. Like this whole thing was just dumb luck on her part. Like, no, it's so, you know, but I would like to play with that at some point more, of really deconstructing my own story and playing devil's advocate, and reverse engineering all this. Well, like, what if all this was totally not what I'm saying? And that, well, if that were the case, well, then the only thing that would explain her being a self-proclaimed witch is that it was just peer pressure. She just got peer pressured into something because she's so easily manipulated by other people. You know, and all these things are possible, which is one reason to do this whole story and piece this puzzle together, is try to figure out, like, what what really happened here, you know? And then, but then the most difficult part about questioning my own story is how all these events, especially in the event section, it's all just coincidence. And that when you look at the whole picture, the pre-event, the event itself, and the post-event, how there's always this black cloud following her around, and that's just coincidence. Like, since I met her, all the way up through the whole fucking, all these years, the 5 years, that she's always had this black cloud where there's always some sexual predator that's stalking her, and some some abusive person that's hurting her, and there's always a fire, some big fire that burns a house down around her, and there's she's surrounded by witches. All of her friends are witches, like a murder. The dead people are dying, allegedly committing suicide, but then everybody's saying it wasn't suicide. There's always this black cloud around her. That's all just coincidence, you know. And that this series of events that took place within 2 weeks with me, where I'm getting like, she dumps me supposedly for another guy. She's hanging out with witches. There's a dead body tied to her and her friends. The police are investigating it as a murder, or claiming to investigate it as a murder. And I get a death threat put out on me, and then fucking half of the block that we lived on gets burnt down all within 2 weeks. And that doesn't include all the details mixed all throughout it. This complex web of details all linked to it throughout the entire 2 weeks, that was all coincidence, you know. So trying to, reverse engineer this story and deconstruct it, and really like put a magnifying glass to everything, and questioning, like, even though it looks like she's a witch, and it looks like it was a murder, and it looks like all this, what, maybe it's something else. Maybe there's something else going on. And, I've thought about all of this, and the idea that she's just trapped in this cult and can't get out. And it's because of her naivety and her inability to navigate in the real world has just sucked her into this black hole of satanic Illuminati Freemasonry witchcraft thing. And that is just and she just completely lost control, and how much of it is she innocent of, and how much of it is she guilty of, where she's willingly participating in just evil, and so that's one part of, like, I really would like to but that's just another massive part of the puzzle, which is one reason for doing this, is so that I can step back and look at it and see, like, how much of this is me tripping out, Maybe there's not as big of a element of witchcraft and shit as it appears to be. Maybe it's not a murder, though it appears to be. Maybe the fire wasn't arson, as though it appears to be. Maybe that phone call wasn't a death threat, though it appears to be. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just funny. And see, these are questions that people would ask. They're like, how do you know that phone call was a death threat? I mean, I could see how maybe you would think it was, but how do you know it's not just you mistook that call as a death threat? How do you know that fire that happened a week after that phone call wasn't really just an electrical fire, like the fire department claims to have investigated and concluded it was just an electrical fire? How do you know that it wasn't an electrical fire? Like, how do you know what I mean? And how do you know that she was that this was all a conspiracy, that maybe these things just happened as circumstance, as part of a, just the circumstance, the way it all happened. It just happened to turn into a big fire involving a dead body and a perceived death threat phone call and everything else. How do you know that the police weren't hiding the investigation from the public because as part of the investigation? How do you know that the reason they weren't hiding the investigation was because they were really working? It wasn't that they were trying to cover it up. It's just that's part of the investigation tactic, is to hide it from the public. All this other stuff, like, deconstructing everything, and just with a magnifying glass, critically looking at everything, And, I would like to get like a mathematician or someone who understands numbers and statistics to mathematically come up with a formula as to what would the chances be that all these things could happen coincidentally in 2 weeks. What are the chances that could all just be coincidence? Like, what are the statistical chances of that? Because I know that these things can be explored through mathematics. Like, you can come up with mathematic formulas as to what are the odds of some event taking place the way it did. And so, and that could apply to me, like in this, when I just focusing on the event itself. The event was only a 2-week thing. What are the odds that all of this could happen in 2 weeks and that it would all just be coincidence? It wouldn't point to something. It's all just generally just all coincidental that it happened, and it wasn't that it wasn't what it appears. It's not what it appears. It's just a mathematical anomaly of a statistical oddity, that all these things just randomly all just happen to take place all in a 2-week period. So yeah, like deconstructing this whole thing and really like being like as critical as I possibly can, about it all. Like, why is her Facebook page, the majority of those people, all self-proclaimed witches? Why does she have one of her, because she only had 70 friends on her Facebook page, why is it that the majority of those are all self-proclaimed witches and like new age guru Facebook presences, and that she would have an Illuminati page as a friend? Why? All of this is just coincidence. Like, it doesn't mean anything, really trying to look at it as critically as I possibly can, which I have done in the whole time of trying to process all this. And when I look at it from the other side, as unbelievable as it is, when I look at how the possibility that this is all just coincidence and none of it really, it's all just random events that just coincidentally all took place, and none of it really has any real meaning. And I'm looking too deep into it. I'm trying to find meaning where there is none. And that really the only, if that were the case, which again, like the chances of that being true, like from a mathematical perspective, is really low. It's like it's more probable that it's all what it appears to be. But even if it isn't, one conclusion can be that she's just a really pathetic, lost, bewildered person that it isn't going to end well for her. Like, she's going to end up really in terrible situations in her life, all throughout her life, until she really starts looking at herself and addressing what is going on with her, and And even in that sense, I feel sorry for a person like that, like, because there's little to no hope for them. Like, who knows what it would take to snap someone like that out of the stupor that they're in, and the amount of damage that a person like that causes to everyone around them, just like constantly just leaving a wake of destruction in their path wherever they go. And again, like that, she's always got a black cloud around her, like some sex offender chomo was stalking her for months and nobody would believe her, and that her husband was a totally extremely abusive piece of shit, that she just stayed out of fear, just stayed stuck in that relationship for 7 years, and the amount of trauma and damage that shit causes people. But this constant black cloud, like that her husband is this abusive, sick person, and that the only friend that she has is a sex offender chomo that's stalking her. And then when she can't, nobody would believe her when she's as trying to get help because this guy's stalking her. And then the whole black cloud, just never ending black cloud, where then she's like, all of a sudden has no way to take care of herself, and she's gonna be homeless, and she's just this fucking victim, this perpetual, endless victim of nonstop, sex offender chomos stalking her psycho fucking husband stalking her, and participating in stalking her along with the sex offender chomo, and taking his side and telling her she's crazy, and all the abuse on top of that over all the years with him, the same typical type of abuse throughout the entire thing. And then her desperately trying to escape all of that, and then end up becoming like homeless. Or the only way she's not going to be homeless is if someone actually like takes her under their wing and takes care of her, and all this shit, like, and this black cloud just never ends. It's constant. Then fire, her place burns up, this poor girl loses everything in a fire, and she's being manipulated and controlled by these self-proclaimed witches that are just manipulating her and taking advantage of her, and then the people, they're like blowing if he wasn't murdered, the people that she's around, they're blowing their brains out. and then how that doesn't make sense, because if she's with me, all of my friends are healthy, especially compared to who she's hanging out with. So, and if she's trying to escape all that, and she's with me, and my friends are all healthy people that are healthy to be around, and she's trying to escape all this, well, then what sense would it make for her to be continuing to hang out with them if she came to me desperately trying to escape it? Now, so I help her. I basically save her from the stalker, chomo, sex offender stalker, and her stalker, psycho fucking husband. I save her from that, and then I save her from homelessness. I introduce her to all my friends that are all healthy people that care about people, and so she's all this process. She's desperately trying to escape. Then she gets help from escaping it, and me and her are living together, and then she chooses to go back and be with all these same types of people, and they end up committing suicide and blowing their brains out in the desert, and then she sees me as that I'm the problem, and dumps me and rushes off to the arms of her self-proclaimed witches as her friends. And like, none of this makes any sense. So anyways, so I'm going to just keep beating the dead horse on this. And like I went into my previous video earlier today, this may seem trivial that I'm beating the dead horse on this whole story, and that there's other things that are probably more important. Well, like I said, I already spent 7 years doing a channel on something that is extremely important that nobody gave one flying fuck about. And so I already know how the general audience works on platforms like this. The general audience doesn't care about the truth. And so what's the point, you know? And so I'm doing this for me. I'm done like trying to open people's eyes to information that I have access to, because it's all just a dick swinging contest. It's not about people coming together and sharing information so that we can all figure out get a clearer picture of what's going on. It's all just competition. Who's the biggest internet influencer of them all? That's how the truther movement works. That's how it always has. It's never been about it's never been about community. There is no community in the truther community, because community implies that people coming together and sharing information together so that they can try to understand the bigger picture of this massive conspiracy. And that's not what's going on. It's a dick swinging contest. Who is the awesomest truther internet influencer of them all? There is no sharing of information. That's all a big lie. So working on this story and that's really like, there's some reason that this happened to me 2 years ago. And so I'm just continuing to follow the breadcrumbs on this, and I'm letting go of this idea of sharing information in this truther community. Like, there is no community. It's a hierarchical communist organization. The truther community is a fascist communist organization of hierarchical pyramid schemes, where the truther internet influencers are up at the capstone of the pyramid scheme, and everyone else below them is supposed to look to them as their masters, as the masters of information in the truther movement. And so it's just another pyramid scheme like every fucking thing else. There is no community in the truther community. And so I've gone completely rogue. I'm not sharing any information with a bunch of fucking ignorant, fucking blind, plugged in, fucking brainwashed NPC sheeple. I'm not wasting my breath, or sharing information with dumb fucking masses that have no understanding of anything that's going on and don't care to have any understanding. They're just looking for the next trend to jump on, etc., etc. They don't care about anything. Total apathetic, brain dead, So I'm not doing that, I'm going rogue, and I'm fixating on this event that took place 2 years ago with me, that is all about witches. It's about a real witch phenomena, and I'm just gonna keep beating this fucking dead horse, and with the intent of fleshing this out more, to piece the puzzle together, to try to figure out like what because there's some reason that this happened to me, and there's a reason that all this appears to be what it is. And my hunch is that the reason that it appears to be a black witch cult, Todd Mahdi death cult, is because that's exactly what it is. Once I get the puzzle together, then I will present the final the completed puzzle in a format that is palatable to the general audience, not for clicks, likes, subs, and views, but just for the sake of having this completed puzzle on display as an option for people to observe if they so choose.